This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory. I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the topwater roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Land Doctors. I'm Kelly Hurt.
And I'm Luke Essman. Welcome to Camp Awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
So when I sold you this place, there wasn't this big nice pond here. So I guess you're a pond building expert now.
Not quite, but getting better for sure. Certainly didn't know anything about building ponds when we acquired the property.
Right.
But since the acquisition and the purchase, we've engaged quite a few of the local experts to help us build the pond, both at the state and national level, the USDA, the Oklahoma Wildlife Commission department, and utilize their resources to help us, frankly, build the pond.
So how did they help you? What kind of things did they do?
Well, really started with determining probably the best location on our property.
Yeah.
And that was pretty easy because it was at the bottom of the ravines to help catch a lot of the runoff. But after that, some of the soil composition came into play, where we wanted to make sure that the soil that we had, both topsoil and subsurface, would be able to hold water.
Yeah.
What we found was our topsoil wasn't. It was a sandy loam that really, frankly, wasn't conducive for a pond. But beneath that, there was, we have about 8 feet of blue shale.
Yeah.
That was really nice to be able to be a base for a pond.
So that's a nice, thick, impermeable base. It's like a bowl to help just keep the water from draining out the bottom and into the subsurface. The other thing I've noticed about blue shale too is it tends to give you a fairly nice, clear water once you're finished. It's not all muddy and red, but it's just looking at it now, it looks like it's already clearing up. And the pond's been built how long?
We finished it about the beginning of August,
Yeah.
and we had some unseasonal rain after that point, so it filled up. It hit spill point about mid-December. And so that was really quick, especially that season of the year.
So once you found the right spot, you knew you had the right soil, what happened then?
Well, then we engaged a local contractor to kind of help us build the pond. We started with some roads to access the pond.
Yeah.
And then we used him to remove the topsoil to be able to attach both sides of the ravine, and did some dirt work surrounding that, removed some trees.
What did you do with the trees when they took them down?
Burned them. Just
piled them up,
Just
burned
piled
them?
them up and burned them at that point. And from there, we exposed the shale.
Yeah.
At that point, we scraped down and have about, as I mentioned, 4 to 5 feet of shale now there at the bottom of the pond, and just let God rain on us at that point and fill up.
Filled up. And then you've got, I noticed you have 2 big pipes at one end of the dam where the water flows through. So that they size those for you so they'd be the correct size for your inflow of water?
We did. Some of that was we were able to watch the water inflow for a period of time to try to get an idea of it. There wasn't quite as much science as probably maybe could have gone into that process,
Yeah.
but we were fairly confident that that would catch any type of overflow
That you had.
for the pond.
Now, so you've built the pond, it's now full of water. What's the next step for you?
Well, next step is, as I mentioned, we talked to the wildlife department, and every spring they go through a stocking process. They'll stock a new pond for free.
For free?
Yes, sir. Well, there's some paperwork that has to go with that.
Yeah.
You need to have an official come out and test your water. We'll go through that process in the spring, and at that point they will stock your pond to your specifications based on the size of your pond.
Really? So what kind of species are you thinking about putting in?
Oh, bass for sure.
Yeah.
We'll probably put some carp in to help some of the cleanup around the edges, and bluegills for the kids at that point, and catfish probably too, I imagine.
Are you going to put in bait fish as well, or just the?
We will to help grow. That won't come through the wildlife department, though. We'll have to backfeed those to help the growth of the fish.
Okay, so you're going to add those yourself. So
Yes,
they
sir.
just give you basically the sports fish, and you have to provide the forage fish.
That's right.
That's still a pretty good deal.
Heck of a deal.
Free's hard to beat. Now, with going back to the pond for a moment, did you put any brush or anything like that in the bottom of it, or leave any trees that'll provide structure for the fish?
We will. That's one thing that we will do when we drop it out there. The pond is nice and deep.
Yeah.
The banks are fairly close to the center. If you can see, it's built in a ravine, so we can still access the depths of the pond at that point. So that'll be a big part of fish habitat for sure.
How deep is the pond?
25 feet, about 25 to 30 feet. So it's nice from that standpoint. It'll stay wet year round.
Yeah.
And it catches quite a bit of the runoff, as we mentioned earlier on, that from the slopes of about a 30-degree slope going down into the pond.
So it'd take a really severe drought to completely dry this pond up with that kind of depth.
We'll hopefully be fishing year round up here.
There you go. Well, that's great. You don't want to go through all this work and then just have it dry up and lose all your fish. So what do you think, what's your expectation for the place over time? Do you think 5 years from now you'll be catching 5-pound bass, and the kids will be pulling 2-pound brim, or what do you think?
Well, I think so. I think we'll try to fish it immediately, even though we may only have 1 to 2 inch fish out there to begin with. But as I mentioned, it's a destination point for us that's close to home. So I see us over the next several years accessing it in our off days when we don't have kids' sports going on and work, and enjoying it from that standpoint. My wife and I would like to build a cabin out here someday and enjoy that as either a day lodge or an overnight lodge, since it's close to home, and really enjoy nature out close to home.
Now, when you do that, do you think you're going to pull utilities, or are you going to try to do something off the grid, or what do you think?
No, I think we'll pull utilities. We're lucky to the east of us. There's a housing addition that's further east that we can access to. Beyond that, we really haven't gone through that much research. I do know that we do have some of those type electricity or utilities, around this area that will be a close access point for us.
Well, that's always good, because distance on pulling utilities, it can get to be expensive
Sure.
if it's too far. I have seen some people that are doing either primitive cabins, and also others that are trying to do stuff that's more off the grid. And those are nice if you're into that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different level of living than being able to just go in and turn on the faucet and have the air conditioner running and all that stuff.
Well, we'll have air conditioning running for sure, and we'll probably have a satellite for Saturday football too at times. Up there too.
Yeah, That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you built the trails. Did you basically just go around the perimeter of the property with your trails, or did you cut across it, or what was sort of your philosophy on that?
It was to access all four corners of the property, first of all. We didn't want to disrupt what was a selling point of the property, which is the native state of it when we purchased it, but we wanted to be able to access it to use it. So we built drivable roads to all four corners of the property with a big circle, basically around the perimeter.
Yeah.
And then we created a figure eight, essentially, which crosses the dam by the pond, which is about center of the property.
Oh, okay.
And so we have two main sections, if you will, of almost 100% wooded, treed property between each one of those roads that we built.
Very nice. Did you build any food plots yet, or any places where you will make food plots in the future?
We have a few clearings that we'll work on. Need to do a little bit more work there, but haven't yet.
Well, Luke, one of the things that helps with the clarity of your pond is to start with good water, and this is water that's flowing from uphill down into your pond, right?
That's right. Yeah, this catches a lot of the runoff from that slope we talk about on the property. And a lot of the sandstone and the sandy loam cleans that water as it comes down into the pond.
Yeah, and you're sitting on a big sandstone boulder there, and they're all in the bottom of this creek or this little drainage here. I can see, it's gin clear. Does it run year round like this?
Not quite. It'll run for quite a few weeks after a good rain.
Yeah.
But it will dry up in the heat of the summer.
Eventually dries up.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty neat. That to me, though, is just having that high quality inflow of water is really a great feature and benefit for you as far as trying to manage that pond for the long term, because in so many cases you have so much sediment that blows into a pond that it starts filling up, your pond prematurely and basically decreases the lifespan.
Sure.
Well, this is nice. So you're not going to disturb any soil or anything up in here anytime soon?
No, we'll keep this the way it is. It's nice that kids can climb around on these rocks and play with the running water.
Yeah.
But we enjoy it to be able to backfill the pond, especially as we get into the heat of the summer as it starts drying up a little bit.
Yeah, I love the sound of this running water here going over the rocks. And the thing too with small children, and yours and mine are about the same age, is that these little places like this is just a wonderland to them. I mean, to get up here and explore and get wet and jump in it and everything, it's a great little learning place for them.
We have some great pictures of our kids and some friends' kids rolling around in the mud and the water in here already.
Really?
In the property, so it's been a good time already.
Have you been climbing any rocks yet? Because I know you got some pretty nice little rock ledges in places.
We do. We have some nice sandstone outcrops on the property that we've been climbing a little bit. Nothing too adventurous, but
Yeah.
With the slope that we have, sure, it's fun to climb.
Let's go check some of those out then. Did you design the seating here for me? Because it's just about perfect for me.
This was the sole reason we bought this property, was this type of amphitheater style seating. You could see it's pretty well laid out as you move on down the cliff there.
Now, that makes all the difference in the world.
We've had a family picnic up here,
Yeah.
climbed around with the kids a little bit, and it's a great little destination activity spot on our property.
It is unusual.
It is.
I mean, it's just these nice little stair steps that go all the way down.
We actually happened upon this before we even built our roads and our property. We just hiked upon it one day, and we're pretty amazed to find it.
Yeah.
Out here and kind of in the middle of the property.
I wonder how I got here.
I could come up with a great
Tell me a
great
lie.
reason, but who knows? These
Who
are
knows?
expensive rocks or heavy rocks, and expensive to move them for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah. I suspect this is where they've always been, but it is interesting to see these little outcrops like this and to sort of wonder how they developed over time to look like this, to have these nice little clean breaks and stair step sort of assemblage to them. And I think it is pretty unusual. I mean, it's not spectacular, but it's neat. It's just a cool little thing for the kids especially.
And this is another example of the filter system, if you will, of the water as it runs down into our creek bottom.
Yeah.
As it rolls over these rocks, it gets washed fairly well.
Yeah.
moving down into the pond.
Well, Luke, we really appreciate you letting us come out and see your property today, and just excited about what you're doing, and hope you keep going. Hope you let us come back and see what it looks like 5 years from now.
Any day's a good day to be out here on a sunny day out here in the property and not behind the desk. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to be out here with you guys.
It's a good excuse to get away, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, thank you. Now we're going to visit with Greg Beverage and speak with him about how the OERB turned a saltwater wash on his property into a really nice fishing pond. Well, today we're here with Greg Beverage, and we're going to talk to him about his 80 acres. Greg, thank you for being with us today.
No problem at all.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what did the place look like when you found it, when you bought the place?
We bought the place in 2009. Where we're standing was what they called denuded land. There was no way to ever get any vegetation ever to grow back due to the past oil field. Basically, this whole pond through here was just what they call gigantic saltwater wash. My water line for my home was exposed for about 200 foot. You couldn't bury it because all it would do is wash away and become unburied again.
Yeah.
OERB actually contacted me and asked if I had any old abandoned well sites. I said, sure, yeah, come out and take a look. And about a year later, they got finished and they ended up with really great improvements.
You said that the wash was here when you got here. How long had it been like that? Was that something that happened for years? Or?
Yeah, the well site that is just up to the west of us had been abandoned for years. Probably the well was drilled in the 30s when a lot of these old oil wells in this area were drilled. No telling when it was abandoned, and at that point the ground had been contaminated, I guess. It just sat there and Mother Nature did its thing and started just with the rains, winds, and just eroded away the ground.
So it wasn't an active producer or anything like that? It had been abandoned?
It had been abandoned, and I don't know how long it had been abandoned, and there was never any pumping units or anything like that on the side. It was just an abandoned oil well.
Yeah. So behind us, you basically had a big bare gully then?
Mm-hmm. Yep, there would be drop-offs that were, 10, 11 foot deep, just cut through the ground. And from basically this hill here, this entire pond, down this draw was just denuded ground. There was no grass, no nothing. Just gigantic, just bare red dirt.
So how in the world did they go from that to what we have now? How did they achieve that?
They came in, brought in track hose, bulldozers, and all the big equipment. Started off and just pushed all the what they would call denuded ground, what they kept calling it to me, and actually put that into the dam, and actually made the dam out of the ground that's not any good for anything anymore.
So that ground probably had a lot of salt in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then.
Had
That's
salt.
what was keeping it from
Yeah.
growing stuff.
Put it in the dam, then they would get, as they dug the pond, they would get down to the good dirt.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing growing Bermuda grass today. And then they'd put the good dirt back on top to keep the erosion down. The guys with the track hoe, instead of burning it, they said, would you like to do anything with it? I said, well, yeah, I would like to have a crappie habitat. So they went in and took the track hoe, and I would say roughly about 800 square foot. I can't tell you how deep because there was a lot of timber. But they took it, I'm going to say the pond itself is around 25 to 27 foot deep when it's totally flooded. And so they had to go down at least another 10, 15, 20 foot deeper than that, and dug the hole, pushed the timber off in it. And when they were digging it, hit a little spring. You can see the water coming up in it. So evidently it's not good enough spring to keep it full during a drought, but it helps. It helps.
Yeah.
So they did exactly what I asked them to do. My son and I are big fishermen. We love to fish. They left this whole side of this with drop-offs and just spots for fish to hide. As we go around the corner, it's flooded timber. I asked them to leave the timber there. They did exactly what I asked them to do. They went in, left all the timber standing so we could flood it for a good fish habitat, and just a wonderful agency to work with.
After visiting with Greg Beverage about what the OERB had done for him,
we decided to go by the headquarters of OERB and visit with the Executive Director, Mindy Stitt.
Well, the OERB, or Oklahoma Energy Resources Board, is a unique organization. It's and actually the first of its kind in the nation. It's funded by the oil and natural gas industry, and it was created back in 1993. So we are getting ready to celebrate our 20-year anniversary, and it was created by the state legislature at the request of the petroleum industry. And it's voluntarily funded by a 0.1% assessment on the sale of oil and natural gas in Oklahoma. It comes in through the tax commission and put into a fund for the OERB to use. And then if producers and royalty owners do not wish to participate, they can get a refund each year. So we have about 90 to 95% participation each year. So it's a well-funded program, and we're really excited about all the work that we do. Basically, we have two main missions. One is to educate Oklahomans about the industry, and that's actually divided into two separate parts. Really, we have student education and just general public education. And student education, we have curricula for K through 12. We have a scholarship program to get people in the oil and natural gas industry. And then, of course, we have commercials for the general public, educating them about our well site cleanup program, as well as just the importance of the industry to the state. And then, of course, the other side of what we do is environmental restoration. We work closely with the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. That's the regulatory agency over oil and natural gas. We also we do a lot of advertising. Hopefully, Oklahomans have seen that. And that's one way we get landowners to turn the sites in. And more recently, we've been doing a lot of aerial reconnaissance work, as you know, taking a look at the land and see if we could see saltwater scarring or anything, and then we'll contact the landowners directly and ask them if they do have sites that are abandoned on their property, that we can come out and clean them up. In Oklahoma, the oil and natural gas industry has been here actually before statehood. The first commercial oil well was drilled in 1897. And so a lot of the companies that were drilling these wells back in the teens and 20s and 30s, of course, they're no longer around. So they're abandoned sites. We're not able to find an operator, and that's what qualifies a well site to be on our list for restoration. We always are wearing the white hat. You know, I think everyone is glad to see us coming, whether it's a landowner to clean up a site on their land, or it's a teacher. We go in and provide them with curricula and materials to use in their classroom. And and the industry also, because the reason the OERB was created back 20 years ago was because it had a bad image, and there was only a 22% approval rating of the oil and natural gas industry in Oklahoma. So we wanted to educate Oklahomans about the industry, so hopefully to improve that image, and also with the well site restoration, that Oklahomans could see that the industry was trying to make a difference here in the state. You know, no matter who I'm talking to, they're glad to see us.
We hope this episode encourages you to try pond building projects on your own property. For more information on this show, go to landdoctors.com. And as always, stick around after the credits for a little lagniappe.
I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the top water roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa. Whoa,
Welcome to this week's episode of The Land Doctors. I'm Kelly Hurt.
And I'm Luke Essman, and welcome to Camp Awesome. No, I already screwed up. Let's start over.
Okay. You can just start over with
Okay.
Mostly Untouched.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
You can just start with Mostly Untouched.
It was mostly untouched. There we go.
How's my hair?
Good thing it got blown around.
We may have to get behind the dam to do this. How's my hair?
It's good. Oh, I didn't know that. What's the formation name here?
I don't know.
You don't know? Come on, dude. You're in the oil and gas business.
I,
You're supposed to know this stuff.
I have no idea.
Huh?
Call it the...
Yeah, let's make up something. They'll never know.
No, I'll have any idea. Except my old buddies will be like, you're a fucking idiot. That's going to be on the blue.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory.